All right, welcome back to the Canadian Gun Vault. Behind the vault door, I'm coming to you live from the Toronto Sportsman Show, and I'm here with none other than the godfather of firearm rights movement here in Canada, Rod Giltaca. Rod, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm going to stick my hand out and shake it because, you know, it's truly an honor to meet you. I got to tell you, you've been an inspiration to me. Certainly, I saw what you were doing a few years back, and I certainly identified with it, and I really see a lot of value in what you've done, and it had a big impact on what it is that I'm doing myself. Rod, you know what? Speaking to you now, while I got you here, I'm going to ask you the question that's on a lot of people's minds. We've got upcoming firearms legislation being, about to be dropped on us and proposed. What do you think? What do you think is coming here? People keep asking me, and I don't have any straight answers because I don't think we've seen anything really concrete yet. But what do you think is coming?
Well, thanks for having me on, Mark.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate your support. There's pretty much everything that the Liberals promised in their platform is supposed to happen. It's supposed to come out on Tuesday. There's a rumor floating around that it was Monday, but now it's back to Tuesday as our information. And a lot of things are going to be a minor inconvenience for gun owners. And so those types of measures are going to be, you have to verify a PAL if you're going to do a private transfer.
Okay.
That's going to be a requirement. How they're going to implement that, who only knows? Whether they're going to ask for another $10 million to have a call center where the people are there 24/7, who knows?
Yeah.
The ledger system is going to come back for stores.
Okay.
So, and that's going to be a paper ledger. I don't know what the mechanism there is going to be either, whether that paper is supposed to be submitted every month or what have you. There's no answers coming there. There's also rumor that a couple of certain firearms that went prohibited, then were legislated non-restricted, may end up prohibited again.
Okay, we're talking about the Swiss Arms, maybe in the 858.
And the 858.
We play in that game with the ping pong ball, like
Yeah.
Okay, there's some rumors of that.
Yeah, it's a war apparently. Of ideologies.
Yes.
Because I'm yet to. Obviously, those firearms were classified as prohibited.
Yes.
Because they were. I'm doing air quotes now.
Yeah.
Easily converted. But it's funny. So they made them prohibited. But it's funny. I'm not aware that they've ever found a converted full auto CZ858 or Swiss Arms, which pretty much says there is no problem, but we need a solution, obviously, even for problems that aren't there.
Yeah.
And so I don't think they've ever found one. And besides, if somebody, and I've said this before, if somebody converted one of those rifles to full auto, it would already be prohibited.
Yes.
But anyway, I don't want to.
Yeah. No.
I don't want to blow the lid off these people's illusions. But anyway, and the worst one is that they promised to make the RCMP formally responsible for firearm classification. And the rumor floating around, I'll say the rumor, is that they're going to enshrine that in legislation. So what that means for gun owners is this is the darkest part of the whole thing. It's that if true, and we'll see next week, if true, that would make the RCMP unstoppable in how they classify firearms, meaning that there's nobody in Canada that can override their decision once that decision is made. They're going to be legislated that authority. So if you want a quick scenario, what does that mean? It means that let's say the Liberals got in again in 2019. And the RCMP knew they had free reign for 4 years. They could say all semi-autos are prohibited, and of course that wouldn't be good for them. It wouldn't be good for us. It wouldn't be good for the country. It would be bad all the way around. So that's some of the stuff that's coming.
Yeah, I'm going to echo some of your sentiments. I got to tell you, probably the darkest, and I mean that's the term that you used. The idea that they would be given free reign to classify anything they want, when they want, for whatever reason they want, without question and without any kind of legal recourse to kind of backpedal.
Without accountability.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really vote out the RCMP. I mean, it sounds to me like they might be passing the buck up off and on to the RCMP to leave them with that kind of authority. Like, I mean, I'm a firm supporter of law enforcement. I always have been, always will be.
Yeah.
I love the RCMP. Don't necessarily like the decisions that are made sometimes by the brass. And when I look at where the purse strings are, the Liberal government's in charge right now. They got a majority government, and they certainly have the ability to maybe press certain individuals within those communities to get what they want. I don't like the idea of them having the ability to classify anything they want. I think it's a back door being left open, the chicken coop door, as it were, being left open for someone to change some people's lives in a dramatic way.
It's really dangerous.
Yes.
And it is the antithesis of everything that we think is is right and true in a functioning democracy, right? Like, it undermines our entire system.
It does.
You have, and if you don't own firearms, you probably can't understand. You're like, well, so they classify firearms, big deal. That's not making law. But it is, because they can seriously impact somebody's life, and they can create a what word would be good? They can create a situation, an environment where they can turn someone into a criminal for a stroke of a pen, but they can create a situation where they can actually pursue somebody, go after somebody. I don't like using hyperbolic terms. That's why I'm trying to be so careful. But let me be hyperbolic just for a moment. They can decide, well, I'm going to kick your door in, and I'm going to take what you got, and if you don't give it up, you're going to be facing, different levels of force,
yep,
up to including imprisonment or death.
Yeah.
And maybe in a society that's necessary if you have criminals, but you can't manufacture criminals like that and then use the government force. I mean, that's the police making laws, and we associate that with dictatorships. So I don't want to put too fine a point on it, or be too hyperbolic. But I mean, I don't think I'm being inaccurate.
No, I don't think you are. I think that some people have accused me of perhaps sounding alarm bells unnecessarily at times. I see the potential dangers in it. I mean, I was a police officer for years, and I know that if you give just a little bit too much flexibility and authority to people, eventually they'll start to bend the rules a little bit to work right in their favor, or they'll do things the way they want. If they have the ability to recategorize these guns, I mean, like I look back to the 90s, a Steyr AUG being changed. And I know this is something that you and I talked about briefly about a year ago. Steyr AUG is a wonderful firearm, and I've fired them and I love them. They're great. They really are mechanically no different in their semi-automatic trim than, say, a Tavor rifle or a T97. Love bullpup designs. I think they're really nice. The ability to just suddenly take that one firearm and to push it into a category where people that owned it would no longer be able to realize its true value. They wouldn't be able to sell it, the way they once did, to a market that was much larger, and to be able to realize, the money that they spent on the gun. I mean, the inability to pass it down to people that you care about and love the way you would any other estate property. There's such a large impact that goes along with changing these rules in this way, and it is tantamount to law changing. I mean, anytime you get lawmakers, right, being in the same kind of room and part of the same force as law enforcers, you can't have them be one and the same. And I know that argument's been made, and I really want to see something done about that. Like I said, I'm a firm supporter of the RCMP, but at the same time, I don't think that they can wear both hats. I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's part of a democratic society, as you put it. And you know what? I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here. And what would you suggest that the rank and file gun owner does to perhaps help combat this outside of joining the CCFR, which, by the way, is a fantastic organization. Love what you're doing. I've been watching it. Been watching it for a very long time. Like I said when we started all this, you were definitely an inspiration for the Canadian Gun Vault. Our philosophies, I believe, run parallel, and we're in it for I think the same reasons. We love the firearms. We love the firearm community. We want to see some changes done, and made that are going to be productive and good for everybody. Common sense solutions, right? You I think coined that phrase, many years ago. I love it. Right? It's fantastic. What would you suggest that firearm owners do, to do their part outside of joining your organization and ones like it, lobby groups like it? What would you suggest?
Well, if they wanted to do a little bit more than just join an organization, and joining an organization is really important because, and I've been saying this throughout the whole show to people, right? We want a lot of people doing just a little bit. We don't want the way it is now, which is a very small group of people doing everything, because that's not sustainable, right? We can't, I can't go pedal to the metal like I've been doing for 2.5 years forever, right? I'm going to get worn out, and I'm done. And then there can't be a big gap sitting there, right? Like, oh, now there's nobody. Yeah. So we need a lot of people to do just a little bit, but we need to. So try to get your fellow gun owners to get involved at some level, whether they're supporting an organization or whatever. But the one thing that people can do on their own time, and I mentioned this before, is you can launch your own grassroots advocacy campaign. You can go online, you can use the explainer videos that we've created. We have $100,000 worth of public relations material, animated videos, never been done before, right? Because they're expensive and they take a lot of skill to create. Use them, get online, engage people. But there's a point behind this, and it's very interesting because I had a discussion this morning about this very topic, is that people get online and someone will engage them, like an anti-gunner, we'll call them that for now, right?
Yeah.
They'll engage them, and they'll go back and forth and typing furiously, and they're up till 2 in the morning, and they don't convince that person, and they're like, I can't, we're never going to convince them. What you need to understand, and this requires some faith, is you need to understand that when you're having that exchange and you're just sticking to, you're very nice to them, you're killing them with kindness. Hey, I understand why you feel that way, but I think it's incorrect, and here's the information, and you're being factual and you're being rational and reasonable. What happens is that one person you're arguing with, you're actually leveraging them, because there's 200 people watching that conversation that have commented nothing, and that's the silent majority. And they're going, yeah, this, I don't want to call them leftist, but there's a stereotype there, there's a tendency there, but they're watching like, oh, the person that's on my team that doesn't like guns is being totally unreasonable, and the gun guy is the calm voice in the room.
Yes.
So those 200 people that you just converted, you'll never know that, you'll never see it. But you have to have faith that that's how it works.
Presenting in a calm, composed fashion has always been kind of the hallmark of, what I've done. Certainly, it's been, your signature move. You've always kind of delivered the message in a very digestible way, and it reached me and it touched me. It definitely had an impact, on what we're doing, and it certainly influenced me and a lot of decisions I've made. Rod, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us, and certainly, if I ever get out to BC, I'm going to look you up, and if you stay long enough in town, maybe we can get you shooting at one of our local gun ranges. We'd love to have you out.
We'll see if we can make that happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, and everybody for listening. Right, Rod Giltaca, folks, just an absolute pleasure. I can't believe I'm speaking to you, and definitely looking forward to spending a little more time and engaging in a little bit more productive conversation on the matter.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, take care now.
All right.